Alright, good morning, people of YouTube. So this time we're back with another deck profile. This time we're back with a deck that I'm actually kind of terrified to release to the public. This is an amalgamation of a couple different variants of yellow decks. I started off building this deck by trying to utilize Protoform to make cheap evolutions into RiseGreymon X and Rapidmon X, and utilize this BT12 Marcus to get some free evos into like Ruin mode, and your other pieces, and it was really cool. However, this is kind of what this deck evolved into. It's a kind of a combo of the Marcus hybrid style, with just good shine pieces, and then you have this Etemon Valkyrie combo. You still have the Protoform to go into the Rapid. You have some Venus, and then, the Ukkos and the Louis to provide you consistency as well as aggression. So, if you guys like this kind of content, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into some of the choices for the deck. So we're on these Ukkomon eggs because our rookies are going to be Agumons and Ukkos. You need to get a zero evolution on or a zero cost evo on as much of your rookies as possible. And the only one that you want to be paying for is this Ukkomon because it searches every good card in your deck. But we have 4 copies of the red one to let you draw a card whenever security is removed. You're doing chump checks with Marcus, with your regular Agumons, with this promo Ukko a lot. So this is triggering a lot. So getting draws is great. And then we have 1 copy of this yellow BT12 Koro because it's the next best one. Being able to provide us a little bit of extra DP reduction whenever we suspend our Tamers is really nice. Going into the rookies, we have, the BT16 Ukko as a primary consistency piece, searches the whole deck, and then we have 2 copies of the promo Ukko to help us gain some stray memory, get some more eggs, and help us flood the board, so that way whenever we do a Valk play, or a Ruin mode play, or a Rapid X play, or anything that would wipe their board, or even Venus to stun them, we can have like 4 bodies that can swing on the next turn and win the game. Speaking of getting extra bodies, we do have the Agumon package. The most important one is going to be the BT13 Agumon, because it turns your Marcus into a Digimon for free. If you're at 3 memory because of the memory Tamer Marcus, you can just slam this, activate its effect, turn the BT12 Marcus into a Digimon, swing with the Marcus, and then either this can evolve into something, or you can turn one of your other Digimon into a much more powerful threat. So this is a really fantastic card. Its inheritable is also really good because you're getting a lot of DP reductions whenever you're suspending these Tamers. So oftentimes you will put big Digimon into that 3000 DP or less thresholds that you can blow them up. So this is really fantastic. And then the next best Agumon that we can play is going to be the one that gains us a memory at the start of our turn if we have a Tamer, which combined with the Ukko lets us start with like 5, sometimes 6 memory. Which is just great. It means that we can even do plays like slam the Etemon down and still choke them, which is fantastic. Not only that, but its inheritable will let you draw more cards, which is good. And yeah, I guess other inclusions would be the BT12 yellow-red Agumon that can reveal 4 and search a Marcus or a Greymon piece. I did not want to include that because it bottom decks my Rapidmon engine, my Etemon engine, the Valks, the Venus. It bottom decks a lot of the cards that we want to be seeing in our hand, actually. And another card that you could choose to include is going to be the new Agumon from BT16, the Light Claw one that lets you reveal, I think it's 3, and then you get to add a dual color yellow card to your hand, which is this entire deck, basically. So that's pretty nice, but it does only evolve off of yellow eggs, so you would have to play more of this Koromon, and I really like the BT14 Koro, so that's why we're not including that one. But yeah, I think these are the best rookies that we can play. As you can see on the screen, we are playing 14 of them, which means that we are flooding the board, having a lot of consistency. So going into the level 4s, the best one we can play is going to be this BT12 GeoGreymon. It's a really good starting play. You're getting like an Ukkomon and an Agumon most of the time turn 1, so then your turn 2 can be gain a bunch of memory, evolve the Agumon into the Geogray, and then play the Marcus. And then if you can get to 3, again, then you can play this, turn that Marcus into a Digimon, swing with this, make it a Rise. It's pretty nice. Even if you don't do that, you can just use this to play like this BT13 Marcus, kill like a Vmon or an Ukko or a Terriermon or anything in the format that would help your opponent progress their plays. This card is really nice, and then it effectively will let you choke them a little bit, and that's always fun. So yeah, we got the Geogray to play our Marcuses. I opted not to play the limited GeoGreymon because it plays the Marcus from the security, and I can't control that in this deck as much as you can in like dedicated Shine or in Yellow Vaccine. So I opted to stay away from that card. Instead, we're on a Rapidmon package and a Geogray package from the... This is the Gallantmon starter deck, I believe. But this Geogray is going to be a 2 of. It's a security Digimon, so it'll play itself. On play, you pop something 4K or less. This is great because it can help us get an extra body into play, blow up a lot of the format, actually. A lot of the format plays a lot of 4,000 or less Digimon. And not only that, but starting off with a champion in play to let this Marcus swing and then evolve it into a Rise is really good. The only downside to this card is it can't evolve into Etemon, but like, boo-hoo. This is a really fantastic card, and helping you overwhelm the Magna players in the format, or the Nume players in the format, is really nice. And then we have the 3 copies of the Rapidmon. This was at a lower number, but having the ability to block and reduce DP further is very important, especially since you can force your opponent to attack with the Etemon, and then turn the Etemon into the Valk, and then they'll be at -3 from this, -5 from this, and then if you block, then they're -4 from that as well. And then they're not going to be bigger than 7,000 after that, I guarantee you. So even in the Magnamon matchup, you're forcing them to attack at the start of the main phase, so they won't even have time to activate an effect that would trigger its Wind Digivolving effect, meaning that Magnamon X antibody, the big boogeyman of this format, will die on the spot. So this card is really great for that, and having an armor form in your sources means that you can get up to this Rapidmon X and put a lot of control on the board, and that's pretty nice. Even though the Rapid X I've dwindled it down to just 1 copy in this deck, I still think that this card is absolutely fantastic, especially since, you can swing with this, do a bunch of things, and then swing with Marcus. Marcus will probably live because the security was reduced by this Rapidmon, and then you can turn this Rapid into a Rise, and then continue your plays from there, so that's really nice. But yeah, that's it for the champions, though. They're the only ones that we really need in the deck. And yeah, there's not really any others that I'm considering playing. So going into the level 5s, we'll go ahead and start with the RiseGreymon package. We're playing 3 of the X antibody because this is really good at just nuking a board. And we're playing 3 of the one from BT13 to play another Marcus. And also has that effect in inheritable and on all turns to put Marcus face down into your security if it dies. So this is a good card. I'm also considering playing the one that has that same Marcus stacking and security effect, but when Digivolving, you gain a memory if you have a Digimon in play. And the only reason, or a Tamer in play, and the only reason for that is because sometimes you'll be playing these Marcuses off of this Geogray and then planning to play another one off of the RiseGray. So you won't have more than a couple in hand. But in situations like that, I'd rather have the redundancy to ensure that I'm dropping these high-value Tamers for free than to play a game where I don't see an effect like this. So I value the redundancy because these cards are so good, which is why I'm on this ratio. Not only that, but activating a Protoform to go into a Rise, and then going Rise into Valk is like fantastic, or Rise into Venus is fantastic, and it's really good. And then yeah, we have the Etemon. So for those of you that haven't seen this card, this is a card that has gained a lot of popularity. Tyler Sear was the first player I have seen using it, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't used before he used it. But shout out to you. Tyler's a really good player. Yeah, friend of the channel. He go check out Gaia Force Gaming if you haven't already. But this card is really fantastic. It works on play and when digivolving, so that's just great. Its inheritable effect is kind of a moot point because it won't trigger whenever you do Blast, because their attack will have already been declared before this effect is live as an inheritable source. But if they attack again after that, then you can potentially get an Agumon play, so its inheritable effect isn't that good in this deck, but it's fantastic in Numemon, which I've also started teching this card in that deck. But on play and when digivolving, until the end of your opponent's turn, that's the key, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3k DP, and at the start of their main phase, this Digimon must attack. So it's the start of their main phase, so they have to trigger that with the other start of their main phase effects, which means they can't activate Blinding Ray to trigger Magnemon's immunity. They can't digivolve that Digimon into something bigger to avoid being deleted by the impending Ace that you have. This card is just overwhelmingly fantastic in this format specifically because it counters all these armor decks. It helps you beat Nume because it gives you a specific out into the Monze that they have, and then it will give a blanket minus 5k whenever you go into this Valk so that they can't even float into any bodies. This combo is absurd, and any yellow deck or any black deck can take advantage of this. And I highly recommend you do it. It's really good. It answers the format, and that's what I have to say about that. So I guess we'll just read Valk Ace. On play when digivolving, all your opponent's Digimon get minus 5. That's great. It lasts for the turn. It's a full blanket. So again, Nume can't float into things unless they're platinum, because otherwise they'll be too small. And then all turns when a card is removed from security, delete something that's 8k or lower. And if this effect didn't delete, you get Sec Attack +1. The Sec Attack +1 only matters whenever you're pushing for game, and only if you have enough memory that the overflow doesn't matter. Or if you've been able to swing with a Rapid to make this card effectively really big. But the ability to give them -3 and then -5 means that they have to be a 17k or greater to avoid being in this 8k threshold, which means the second any Digimon checks security, it just dies. There are, of course, a couple exceptions to this rule, being Tyrant and Magna, because if Magna checks the security, then it will be immune to this effect, which is why we are playing as many Rapids as we are playing, and why we are also playing the Rapidmon X, to give them even more DP reduction. But this card is just overwhelmingly fantastic into every matchup this format, and I think this card was kind of overtuned. If you don't have this card already, I highly recommend picking it up while it's on the lower end, because this card could easily be the next $15 SR, or even higher. Speaking of $15 SRs, I don't know if Venus is still up there, but this card is just absurd, this format. It answers Mirage, it answers Nume, it answers Magna, it answers Rapid, it answers just about everything. So if you're not playing at least 2 in a deck that has yellow level 5s, you should. Like, you're just not considering the format when you're deck building at that point. And I highly recommend that you play at least 2 of this card. I would recommend 3 if you can find room, but this is not a deck that has the room for that, in my opinion. Unless you start making some cuts, which that's up to you, man. Now, for the rest of the level 6s, we are playing the one of Rapid X. This card is here to provide us a little bit more control, a little bit more aggression. This card is just really good. It gets us memory back. It spends things, gives them -4k. Triggers if you have Rapidmon or X antibodies, so you can Protoform one of your level 5s into this card for just 2 memory, and then trigger like a Blitz type effect that suspends everything and then gives them minus 4k. This card is just fantastic. It's a secret rare for a reason, and it functions very well in this deck, so we are playing 1. You could consider going up, but I did still want to find room for 2 copies of the BT2 ShineGreymon. The reason this card is in here, for those of you that don't know, this card is played in every Rune Mode Turbo variant of ShineGreymon, because what this card does is whenever you Digivolve, you suspend all of your Tamers. The rest of the effect is almost irrelevant, because whenever you suspend the Tamer, you will be able to Digivolve this card into Ruin Mode for free off of your Marcus from BT12's effect. So that's really fantastic. Getting a free Ruin Mode off of just evolving into a level 6 is really good. And then if the 5,000 DP wasn't enough, you get to suspend every Tamer that you suspended gives your opponent's Digimon minus 4k. It's 1 Digimon per Tamer, but you can spread that out. For those of you that didn't play in the old format, you can, like, all your Tamers effectively become bullets and you choose where they go. And so even if you have 1 more Marcus, giving something minus 9k is really silly. But let's say it was this BT13 Marcus, then it's minus 12k, and that's just kind of dumb, and you're gaining a memory because this triggered. This is a really fantastic card, specifically because Ruin Mode and BT12 Marcus exists. If those cards didn't exist, this card would have definitely been power crept out by now. But it is the only ShineGreymon to this date that comes down and just suspends all of your Tamers, so it fulfills a niche. It gives us more DP reduction. Good card. Level 7, we are playing 3 copies of Ruin Mode. I feel like you need at least 2 to make this deck even work, which is unfortunate, because it looks like a lot of fun. But you could, I think, get away with just 2. I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend playing 3 for this list. Absolutely, because being able to evolve into this card for free is really silly, and you need to activate multiple instances of this sometimes. Getting 2 instances of the minus 5k off of this effect, and then a Venus, means that the second turn rolls over to the Magnamon player, all of their Magnamon X's die, which is stupid. This is a really fantastic card, and I think 3 is the magic number. 4 feels a little clunky. I think 3 is the way to go. And then we have the 1 Protoform, go into Rapid X, go into RiseGreymon for cheaper. You can use this card to go from RiseGreymon to RiseGreymon X for free, and then go into Rapid, and that's really silly. Getting you, like, double Tamers and giving you a bunch of effects, that's really nice. You can also Protoform the Rapid into Rapid X to make that a 3 cost. There's a lot of things that you can do with this card, and I was playing it at more copies. But this is a card that you only need to see 1 of, and you don't necessarily even need to see it in order to get all of your cards in the deck to work. So I chose to make it my only option because it's just a nice card. You could opt to include Heaven's Judgment, but if I was playing Heaven's Judgment, I would rather just play more Aces, because as I was talking about with a bunch of my buddies at Locals, this format requires you to play dicks on legs. So you have legs for your next turn that are able to swing at your opponent's security, but when they come down, they got dicks, and they're blowing up your opponent's stuff. So that's, in my opinion, the way that this format is, like, players are going to have more success in this format. And so that's why our option and our Tamer count is so low. We are just kind of on the bare bones. We're playing 3 and 3 of the Marcuses, and then the single copy of Louis. If you aren't seeing your Marcuses enough, this could be another Marcus. But if you're playing a deck with 6 ukkomons, you should consider playing Louis, especially a deck as fast as this one. This is just kind of an incredible card for this list. And yeah, it helps you get to, like, absurd memory thresholds at every turn after that. So with this card, with the promo Ukko, with the EX4 Agu, it's very easy to start your turn at 5 or even 6, which means that you can have a bunch of bodies and then still do the Etemon play into Valk and then just overwhelm them. And yeah, that's all I have to say. This is a deck that's pretty flexible. You could adjust these ratios to your heart's content. But this is a deck that I think is very strong. And if you can afford it, you can find a lot of success with it. It's one of those, it's definitely a pay-to-win deck because Ruin Mode is like $100 and the Rapid X is at least $50 right now. Which sucks, but you will be rewarded because not a lot of decks in this format have a very solid answer into this. So let me know what you thought in the comments down below, and we will see you all next time. Bye, everyone.